I was the first person in my entire family to go away to college. I always wanted to be a teacher, an elementary school teacher. Going away to school was really exciting and really scary at the same time, but I realized early on that I had to be courageous and do things that made me a little uncomfortable in order to achieve what I wanted to. Now I realized the second year into college that I didn't like working with kids a whole lot. I like kids better now. But then I didn't want to spend all day long in a classroom. And so I looked at it and I said I have three choices. One is I can drop out of college. Another is I could just stay in school, continue studying education, and become a teacher. Or three, I could pivot with a plan. Well, I didn't want to drop out of school because I'd worked way too hard to get there. I had to be true with myself, and I knew that I would be miserable as a teacher. And so my only option was to pivot with a plan, and that's exactly what I did. The next semester, I transferred schools, I enrolled in another program. I ultimately graduated from college with a degree in organizational communication and started working in the field of human resources. I've had a wonderful career, to be honest with you. I've had the opportunity to work on really exciting projects, work with large organizations, meet amazing people, travel across the country. I actually started transferring quite often within my career. About every 2 years, I would go to a new city, work with a new group, turn them around, and move on to the next location. It wasn't until I was at the highest point in my career that I realized that I was at the saddest point in my life personally. I had moved around so much that I didn't have friends. I was career obsessed. Like the most exciting thing I could think of doing was clearing out my email box at the end of the day. That's not very exciting. I didn't have hobbies, and I was lonely. I had zero confidence, and I didn't like myself. To be honest with you, I hated myself. And so I had a choice. I could do nothing, or I could do something about it. I knew that if I did nothing, I wouldn't survive, so I had to do something. So what did I do? I went on a journey. I took a trip, a short trip to the Florida Keys. Have any of you been to the Florida Keys? Yeah, it's beautiful. I went by myself with the sole purpose of figuring out what was my purpose and passion in life. I needed to get it figured out. I realized during that journey a couple of things. One is that I liked my career, and I was good at it, but I didn't love it. I wasn't passionate about HR any longer. The other thing I realized was that I had creativity brewing inside of me and no way to release it. And creativity energized me. And the third thing that I learned was that I needed to figure out how to like myself. I needed to figure out how to love myself in order to carry on, because I would never be a happy person unless I first liked myself. So I came back to Maine, and I started making Soap Good body products. That was the creative outlet. I learned how to make soap, lotion, body scrubs, and started selling it. Every week, I would go to work during the week. In the evenings and weekends, I would make soap and lotion, and on the weekends, on Saturdays, I would go to a farmer's market in Portland. And I have to tell you, those Saturday mornings were so special to me because I got to meet amazing women. They would come to my table. I'd set my table up with all of my soaps. Each week I had different scents. And these women would stop by, and they'd pick up the soap and smell it, and we'd start talking. And we would talk about things like trying to figure out how to be a good mom, and a professional, and a woman, and as we get older, how to still feel beautiful while balancing all of that. And that connected with me. I got what they were going through. I also realized that we were solving life problems together every Saturday morning at that table, talking over soap. I realized through this process that one, I wanted to be able to connect with people on a deeper level and make a bigger impact in their life. And two, that I wanted to create something where I had reach beyond Portland, Maine, that I wanted to build a national brand, but I didn't know how. Around that same time, I was working on myself too. I needed to heal. I needed to get healthier. I realized through this process the impact that confidence has on how I viewed myself. And I realized that confidence is something that you're not just born with. I used to think like you're either confident or you're not confident. And if you're not confident, then you're never going to be confident. And if you're confident, then you're always going to be confident. I realized that confidence is more like a muscle in a way. And you have to build your muscles. It's like this. If you were to go out and run a marathon, how many of you in here would just wake up one day, never trained, never done anything, and sign up for a marathon? Some of you would. Congratulations. The majority of us wouldn't. Because we don't have the skills and the capabilities. So most of us train for marathons, which means we practice, we make healthy choices around our food consumption, the way that we eat, we mess up, right? We have setbacks, we might have an injury or something, but ultimately we practice and get ready for the marathon. Confidence is the same way. You don't just wake up confident. You have to build it every single day. You have to do things every day that challenges you, that builds your confidence. You have to be healthy. And by that I mean that internal dialogue, the stuff that you say to yourself, the same way that if you're training for a marathon, you're not going to eat junk food all the time. You can't feed your mind with junk if you want to be confident. So I learned that this was a skill that I had to learn and maintain. So a few years later, shortly after turning 40, I had a pretty significant change in my life. One was I realized that all of that work that I had put into building my confidence, I lost track of. It's like I trained for the marathon, and then I went back to my old habits, and then I thought I could train that I could run a marathon again. I wasn't ready. I also had a significant change in my skin. So I went from kind of normal skin to acne breakout, dry patches, red blotches. I was a mess. And at that point in time, I was still working in corporate America. So I was around people constantly, in meetings, leading meetings, having discussions. And my confidence was so low about how I looked, just purely because of my skin, that I didn't want to go to meetings. I hid kind of in the back of rooms and so forth to avoid. At this point, I decided that I needed to work on myself from the outside in. And so I decided to start looking at different skincare brands that were out on the market. I had always loved luxury skincare, but a desire to lead a healthier lifestyle led me to try natural products. Now we've all seen the natural brands, skincare brands that are on the market. I didn't love them. They had thick, heavy textures. They smell earthy. I didn't like that. And so what do you do when you can't find what you want on the market? You make it yourself. And that's exactly what I did. I started formulating my own skincare. Now, I'm not a chemist. I actually did not do very well in chemistry. My biology teacher recently heard about my company, and she reached out to me and said, "Holy moly, Heather, what did you do?" Because this girl was not in my biology class. But I was driven. I wanted to understand how it worked. So I had to study chemistry. Formulating is like cooking in a way. So you take ingredients, you study the ingredients, you figure out what works together, what doesn't work together, and you do a lot of trial and error. And I did that in my lab, in my home. I failed a lot, and that was okay. In the beginning, I was kind of bummed out when it didn't work out, but over time, I realized that every failure was an opportunity to learn, and the next batch got better and better. Around that same time, I found myself in my backyard wandering through the woods. And I came across an area of birch trees, and I noticed chaga growing on the trees. Have you heard of chaga? Yeah. So most people know of chaga in the forms of teas and coffees, right? You grind it up, you drink it. I had heard stories about the powers of chaga, all of the amazing things that you could find in chaga, things like antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial properties. And I thought, you know what? If it's that good for your body on the inside, it's going to be amazing for your skin on the outside. So I decided to formulate using chaga in my skincare. Now the formulation process proved to be pretty challenging. And the reason behind that is the traditional way of extracting chaga extracting the properties from chaga and incorporating it requires that you use water and grain alcohol. Grain alcohol is not great for your skin. And water by itself would not allow you to extract all of the properties. And so I had to figure out another way. I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I couldn't figure it out. I was actually at the point where I was ready to give up. And I was literally in my lab one night, and have you ever stayed up so late that you fall asleep with your head on the books? No? Sorry. That's where I was at. I was in my lab, I fell asleep on all of my notes, and it came to me in a dream. I figured out how to extract the properties, literally in a dream. I figured out how to extract the properties and incorporate them into lightweight oils and create silky emulsified creams. How do you do it? I have a patent pending, and we use oils. So I started making skincare products, and I shared them with my friends. And what I realized was that, remember when I was at the farmer's market and people were talking to me about balancing life? Skincare products, for some reason, brought more out from women. They started talking to me about their challenges around confidence. They told me stories like, I'm afraid to date because I don't like the way my skin looks. I'm apprehensive about applying for this job, this sales job, because I'm gonna have to be around people, and I don't like the way my skin looks. And I realized that this was what I was looking for, the way to be able to reach people at a deeper level, and to not only help them build their confidence on the inside, but I had a product that would help them have clear, beautiful, healthy skin. And so that's when True North Beauty was born. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you a quick video. This is a video that really encapsulates the values, the mission of True North Beauty, what we're about, our why. And after the video, I'll go into more detail about the operations side of the business and the details of the journey.